From the headquarters of the Guild of Champions, this is the Becoming Thin Podcast. And I am your host, Terrell. And welcome to another week of your weight loss quest. How did this last week go for you, champion? What new challenges did you encounter? But more importantly, what failure did you go through and what lesson did you get from that failure? Come on now. Don't let a perfectly good failure go by without you getting your lesson. That's your reward for your troubles, after all. Now, if you're new here, I've lost 125 pounds myself after an entire adulthood of chronic yo-yo dieting. Up, down, up again, before I finally got sick and tired of being sick and tired and fat, and it made some permanent, meaningful, and actual changes to my real-life lifestyle, habits, routines, environment, community, and to my systems of belief. Because it's all of those things that created the results of my life, and if I wanted to get new results, I was going to have to go change those things. Now I'm here to tweak, help you get new results in your life by changing your own lifestyle, habits, routines, environment, community, and belief systems. If you change those things, if you change what you believe, you will begin to hang out with different people. If you hang out with different people, you will begin to change what you believe. And if you hang out with different people and you change your beliefs, you will begin to act differently. You will begin to abandon habits you used to follow in the past, and you will begin to create new habits that you did not previously do. In other words, when you change just a few things, it has a ripple effect, and it begins to change a whole bunch of things. I discovered this on my journey, and I realized it works. I realized that cause and effect is real. If I believe certain things, I am likely to act in accordance with those beliefs, because we always act in accordance with our beliefs. And if you want to lose weight, keep it off forever, you will be required to change your mind about things. There are things, let's address somebody that's in the first half of their journey or maybe hasn't even started. There are things right now that you believe are too hard to quit that later you will not think that. There are things that you believe you hate, that you truly don't like doing and that you don't want to do. At some time in the future, you will feel differently about that. There are things that you don't think you could give up, that you don't think you even want to give up, that you think you'd rather be big than give these things up. And you will change your mind in the future. There are things you think are okay, that are acceptable, that aren't a problem, that in the future you will think is a problem. There are things right now that you think are a problem, things that are happening that you're like, oh no, this is a problem that I got to deal with. I got to think about it. I got to stress about it. I got to worry about it. And in the future, you will not think that. You will not even see it as a problem that needs dealing with. I have lost weight before and didn't change how I thought. And you know what happened every time I did that? I gained my weight back. And I do not believe that to be a coincidence. I don't believe it to be the sole reason, but I believe it to be a major one. That if you lose all your weight and you don't change who you are on the inside, you don't change your identity, and you don't change how you think about yourself, you don't change how you see the world, you don't change how you perceive things that people say, you will get the old results that you got before. Einstein, smart guy, that guy Einstein said, you cannot solve your problems with the same thinking you used to create them. And I've heard several variants of that, but I think all of them essentially say the same thing, that if you want to get new results, you have to have new thoughts. Have to have new thoughts. And not new thoughts some of the times, you have to have new thoughts all of the time. You have to be mindful of things like inspiration porn and motivation porn. You know what I'm talking about, right? It's those posters. It's those little shorts that have some motivational speech with some epic sounding music to a picture of somebody doing something amazing. And you're thinking, that feels good. I like thinking these thoughts. These are pleasant thoughts. These are really lovely thoughts. I think I'm going to keep thinking them. And then you don't. You go back to the thoughts that you think all the time of like, oh man, if I don't do that thing well enough, they're probably not going to think I'm good at my job. And if they don't think I'm good at my job, they're probably not going to give me that promotion that I want to get next year. And if I don't get that promotion that I want to get next year, I'm not going to make more money. And if I don't make more money next year, I'm not going to be able to do the vacation that I want to do. And if I'm not able to go on that vacation, I'll probably still go on the vacation, but I'll do it on credit that I really can't afford. And I'm going to do it because really I'm just so worried about what other people think, because I don't want people to think that I'm not successful. I need people to know that I'm a successful adult and I'm doing life right and I've got it all figured out. And if I don't do this report right now, just so correct, my whole life is ruined. Some of us go back to those old thoughts, right? That helpless thinking that we just let run rampant in our mind. And thinking, well, if only I could lose weight and somehow leave all this stinking thinking completely intact. That's what I tried. I tried that a lot for a lot of years, and it didn't work. It didn't work. It was when I finally decided to change my thinking about myself, and not just some of the time, but all of the time. I started to get new results. I also started to realize the importance of being mindful about how you conduct yourself in private. That yes, indeed, the way you handle yourself in private will be revealed in public. People will be able to see it. And that was one of the hardest things I had about my weight, is why I didn't like people seeing me when they hadn't seen me in a while and I'd gotten big. Why? Because I didn't want them to see how far I had let myself go. I didn't want them to see it. Not at all. Because it was important to me at the time to be perceived as somebody that has it together, that's successful, that knows what he's doing, that's smart, capable, and competent and confident. I needed to portray that. But I knew when a person saw me, they would see that while I might be smart, competent, and confident at other parts of life, there is a certain big, major part of my life that clearly I am not that I've clearly not got it all figured out. And that area of life is my body, my weight, my own health. And I had this sneaking suspicion when I was living my life big that people were judging me for it, that I was being passed over for things, that people would see me as a big person and they would think something negative about me just because they saw my size. I was worried that was happening. I didn't ask because the last thing I wanted was to have that confirmed, because I didn't want to know for sure. And then I went and had the audacity to lose a whole bunch of weight and start keeping it off. And I noticed something, that people do, in fact, actually treat you different when you're thin. They treat you different. Thin privilege is a real thing. And then when you pair that with taking some charisma classes like I did, and you start learning how to handle yourself in front of people, and you start seeing that the world is your oyster and that people will indeed treat you a certain way, that if you in fact act as if you are enough and pretend in your mind that you are enough and that you don't need anybody's approval, if you just pretend and do it for real pretend, people will treat you as if you are already enough. And when people treat you as if you're already enough because you're pretending that you're already enough, all of a sudden you start feeling like you might actually already be enough, and you begin to believe it. You begin to believe it when you just pretend and act as if. Act as if. That was an interesting thing I discovered on my journey, to act as if. Because when I acted as if I was happy, people started treating me like I was happy. How interesting when I reflect back on my old self, so worried about how people would perceive me because of my size. But what I wasn't seeing, I was failing to see that I was saying to myself that self, you are not worthy of being thought of this way. You are not worthy of being looked at and thought of as a competent, confident, and capable person because you're big. Because, Terrell, you actually judge yourself because you're fat, and you're worried that everybody else does it too. And you're actually kind of worried that that's going to be confirmed. Oh, that was a difficult discovery to make along my journey, to find out that I was, in fact, very judgmental towards myself because I was big. And I projected that out into the world. And I created, what was it called? That's right, a self-fulfilling prophecy. I had a self-fulfilling prophecy. I was so worried that people were going to treat me a certain way that I subconsciously did all the things necessary to cause people to treat me a certain way. But what did I say just a little bit ago? If you begin to act as if you are already enough, and you begin to pretend in your own mind as if you are already enough, if you begin to talk to yourself as if you are already enough, you will unconsciously act in a way that people will genuinely think you believe that you're already enough, even though you're just pretending. And when they treat you that way, and in your mind you're pretending, your brain's going to go, I like this. You are treating me this way, and I'm doing it, which is making it easier for me to keep doing it, which is causing you to continue to treat me this way. And eventually that pretending as if you're already enough becomes, I think I'm actually am already enough. And then it goes from I think I already am actually enough to I am already enough. And then it actually proceeds further. Did you know there's another phase after that? There is a phase after I am already enough. And the phase is I always have been enough. I was never not enough. And any time that I thought I was not enough, it's because I chose to fully buy into and believe illusions of myself. Illusions. It was a fake thing. It wasn't even real that I'm not enough. At some point in my life, I let somebody stick a finger in my face and tell me I was no good, and I chose to believe them. I chose to believe that they were telling me the truth, that I wasn't smart enough, I wasn't capable enough, I wasn't able to work hard enough. And so what did I do? I overcompensated. I worked harder than everybody else. I tried to out-squeeze everything out of my brain that I could, not because I was chasing success, but because I was running away from failure. And there is a difference. I wasn't striving satisfied, I was striving terrified. And I discovered that when I began to pretend and act as if I am already enough, and people begin to treat me as if I'm already enough, I began to believe that I'm already enough, which allowed me to see myself now and let go of all this stress and strife that I carried within me in my heart. And when I realized, all I had to do was set it down, and I no longer feel this uncomfortable feeling of not enoughness. And then I began to reflect on my past and go, oh man, Chris, you've been adding all this suffering to yourself because you just kept believing the lie that you're not enough due to some reason that you've made up. Now, you may not have made it up, old Chris. You might have taken something that somebody else said, because somebody might have looked at you and taken their limited view and thinking of themselves, and they projected it onto you. They didn't think they were capable of great things, therefore they didn't think you were capable of great things. And when you set your sights on something great and you went to tell them about it, they're like, I don't know if you could do that. Maybe you'll kind of suck at it. Are you sure? You probably wouldn't be successful because of this, and this, and you don't want to feel that way. So maybe you shouldn't do it, just, to protect you. And they think they're doing you a solid by not believing in you because they didn't think you were going to be successful, and they're trying to save you from some pain. But then you, of course, now deciding to pretend and act as if you are already enough, and to convince yourself in your mind you are already enough, even though you don't believe it, you begin to do it. And so when that person says all these negative, disempowering things to you, and in your head, you're thinking, I'm going to pretend as if I'm already enough. So a person who already believes they are enough, what would they say to a person that says you will probably fail and therefore you shouldn't do it? You would say, well, I suppose it's okay that I fail because I'm enough if I do it, I'm enough if I don't. Me being successful will not make me better. It will not make me a more complete person. It will not bring me more joy in life. It just sounds fun. And if I fail, that's okay too. I'll learn something, and then I'll apply the lesson that I learned from the failure to the next attempt, making the next attempt probably work better. And if I just keep willing to fail my way forward, I will make it to the end. You see, when you believe you are already enough and act as if you are already enough, all of a sudden, failure doesn't become a problem because winning isn't necessary. You don't need to be successful to believe you're enough. It's very challenging to live life in a peaceful, calm way when you are waiting to accomplish something to believe that you are enough. But if you decide to stop waiting to accomplish anything and instead choose to do what you are ultimately one day going to choose to do anyway, and you decide to do it sooner rather than later, to choose to believe that you are already enough and you always have been enough, and you are ready to let go of the illusions that somehow you suck, all of a sudden your life will begin to get better. Something that really helped me with this was to remember something kind of sad but important, and that is I'm going to die. One day I'm going to die. The gift my father gave me at watching him leave this earth is for him to remind me of my own mortality. His last breaths were nothing but empowering for me, and still to this day, my father's last breaths are carrying me forward towards the life of my dreams. I don't know if that's what it actually meant. I know that's what I chose for it to mean. And I know I decided that my self-worth is sacred. That is something my father said and something he believed, that a human's self-worth is sacred. And I agreed with him, except for my view of my own self-worth. I decided to believe that my own self-worth was enough. And now I was fueled by the power of mortality motivation, no longer believing the fake idea that I will not die one day. I finally understood the old saying. Have you ever heard the old saying about two lives? We all live two lives. And the second life begins when you realize you've always only had one. I finally realized I am sitting around waiting and squandering the one and only life I have, and I'm waiting for something. If you were to come press me, I wouldn't be able to tell you what I was waiting for. I would just be able to tell you that I was waiting for better circumstances, better conditions, a better frame of mind, something to be easier, to be less busy. I don't know. It kind of would depend on the mood I was in at the time, but I was waiting for something before I finally would start getting my life the way I wanted it. And then when my father gave me the gift of mortality motivation, by showing me that I'm going to die, I began to act different. I began to finally take my own existence, my own life, my own body serious. I began to realize that this weight loss thing that I just keep putzing around with and acting like it's no big deal is actually a really big fucking deal. It's a really big fucking deal that I'm not dealing with this. And here I am, putzing around, acting like I'm doing stuff, doing on just enough to be able to say that I'm working on my weight. But if somebody ever came and actually pressed me, you would very quickly find out that I know a whole bunch of stuff I could and should be doing, and I'm not. And I'm doing it because a whole bunch of bullshit excuses. And the last thing I wanted was for anybody to come guilt me and make me feel bad about it by reminding me of what I'm already doing. Because if you ruin my illusions and my excuses, I'll have to do something about it. And I didn't want to do something about it. So I needed my illusions and excuses to remain intact. But I did not understand that when I left the illusions and excuses intact, I was keeping myself stuck. I had to be willing to make myself uncomfortable so that I could see the truth. The truth. And when I could see the truth of me, who I am and who I am not, what I am and am not capable of, I could finally start to make changes. When I started to no longer feel guilty because I decided to finally believe that I am enough and I am no longer going to seek to earn the approval of anybody's until I have first gained the approval of myself from myself. And I started with me. I spent my whole life trying to get everybody else's approval so that I could then give myself my own approval. I finally decided I was done waiting around, and I was going to just go ahead and ask myself for my own approval of myself today, now. And I was done withholding it from myself. I realized I had withheld approval and love and acceptance of myself as I am for far too long. And I was done. I was done keeping myself stuck like that. Because I deserved more. I deserved to love living my life in my body. I deserve to not feel guilt and shame and regret when I think about my past. I deserve to feel nothing but gratitude for every single passing second, both good, bad, beautiful, and ugly, of my miraculous, beautiful life. Because a life is a precious, beautiful thing, even yours. Every second of your existence is precious. Every second. It all taught you something and it all made you, and you don't know yet how the bad thing is here to serve you. I promise it is. You just don't know yet. Will you see? Do you have the courage to see how the pain is here to help? This is the Becoming Thin podcast, and I'll be back in a moment. All right, welcome back to the Becoming Thin podcast. I'm your host, Chris Terrell. We're going to be taking some more questions from the Becoming Thin Facebook group. Now, if you are not a member of the Becoming Thin Facebook group, it's totally free. You can join that by searching for Becoming Thin on Facebook. It'll probably be the only group that pops up, or you can head on over to becomingthin.com, locate the resources button on the page. It'll take you right to a whole bunch of resources, one of them being a direct link to the free Facebook group. I'd love to have you come be a part of it. And you can ask your questions and maybe get them answered here on the show. Now, several people have been asking, like, hey, when is the guild doors opening next? I do announce it still in every podcast. I am actually, they haven't opened for, we've missed the last enrollment cycle, and we may even miss the next one because right now the doors are closed because I'm rebuilding Guild 2.0. I have moved the guild from one platform to another, and I'm in the middle of a migration. The next version of the guild is absolutely incredible, the things that we're going to be able to do there. It is, I'm not going to tell you any more about it right now. Just know that some announcements are coming with when the guild doors are going to be open, how you can get in, about our new programming that's going on and the new resources available. All of you that are in the guild, you're just about to get a whole bunch of new awesomeness anyway. And we also are going to have a lower tiered version of the guild and a premium tiered version of the guild coming out as well. So there's a lot of exciting things happening to help you get the resources. We're going to be adding a lot of programming, a lot of accelerators, a lot of small, very focused courses that are all just a part of your guild membership. So anyway, all that's coming. Now, as I said, we're taking questions from the Becoming Thin Facebook group. And this one comes as a post made by Spencer in the group. Spencer says, does anybody else here get paralysis analysis when thinking about trying something new in your weight loss journey? I don't want to fall in the situation that Chris warns about, where I start doing something that works for a little while, but then turns out to be unsustainable in the long run. However, if I don't try new things, I'll stay exactly where I am. So how do you know if something is unsustainable or just hard in the moment? How do you know if you're on the wrong path and need to change directions, or if you need to stay on the path you're on and simply adapt and become stronger? It's the age-old pivot or double down. And then, what do? Do you pivot from what you're doing because it ain't working? Or do you double down because you just ain't giving it long enough? A very, very good question. The fact you are asking it is a sign that you're on the right path, because you're recognizing the need of balancing both sticking to something long enough that you've given it a serious try, but also being willing to change it once you realize it's not working, right? Because you don't want to hang on to a technique that's just not giving you the results that you're looking for. I had this exact same dilemma on my journey in the beginning, and I got pretty good at handling it. So the first thing I told myself, it's what is the litmus test that what I'm going to do might work? So at the onset, any strategy choice that I might make, like how I'm going to do my food, what am I going to handle by my movement, my sleep, anything, I had to ask myself this question. Am I willing to do this for the next 10 years? If the answer is no, don't even try it. Just don't even try it. If the answer is no, don't try. So like in my case, am I willing to give up carbs for 10 years? Instantly, no, not willing to do that. I am not willing to give up carbs for 10 years. So it's like, well, keto's out. Can't even consider it. Can't even consider it for a month, not even a week. But what if you get to something that's a maybe? So in the beginning of my journey, was like, well, I got to do something. Keto's out. Shakes diet's out. Those were the two big ones that I always went to. Eating healthy's out because I wasn't willing to change my food up too much. So it's like, well, what do I do? And I was like, well, let's try this meal prepping business. I've never actually tried meal prepping for more than like a week. Like, let's do meal prepping for a month. Can I do it for 10 years? Maybe. I don't know. Like, I've never tried it. I don't know. So let's go try it. A week's not long enough. 2 weeks isn't long enough to try something either. My personal opinion, 3 to 4 weeks is your minimum. Like at minimum 3 to 4 weeks in a row. If you can't do it 3 to 4 weeks in a row, you either A, it's too hard, right? Or B, you ain't figured it out yet. And you got to decide, like, am I unable to get 3 or 4 weeks in a row because it's too difficult, or because I just don't like it and I haven't figured out how to make it easy yet? There's where some wisdom comes in. But let me tell you about my journey. I did the meal prepping. And after about 3 weeks of it, I was like, I hate it. I'm still doing it. I figured out how to make it easy. I just hate it. I didn't like the food. Didn't taste as good. I kept changing my mind on the day of it. I'm like, well, I don't want to eat this. I want to eat something else. And I realized I don't like microwave food as much. I just prefer fresh. I like cooking. So it's like, I don't want to meal prep my dinners. I want to cook my dinners. And that led, though, to the next iteration that I discovered pretty early on. Meal prepping evolved forward for me into ingredient prepping. What I started doing is, like, I would go buy chicken in bulk. Like, I'd go buy a 4-pound pack of chicken, and then I would take it and weigh it and put it into smaller containers. To just kind of, now I wasn't doing it by calories. I was just sort of like, all right, I'm going to divide it up. I would pick like, all right, we're going to do 10 ounces, or 6 ounces. It's just totally arbitrary at the time. I didn't know. I was just like sort of evenly dividing the chicken up. And I'm like, all right, here we go. So when I get home, all I got to do is grab a Tupperware container that already has my chicken portion in it. It's already seasoned, already marinating, whatever I wanted. And I just drop it right in the skillet, start cooking. Right? Super easy. Rice, you just throw that sucker in the rice cooker. Easy going, right? Sandwiches, bread's easy. You go grab it out of the bag. I just started finding things where I could prep the ingredients. So it was super quick and easy. So actually far faster than a restaurant. I mean, this was way quicker than going to a restaurant. Maybe on par with fast food, but I liked it. But this came out of an evolution of meal prepping that I decided I didn't like. So with what you were saying in your question, you said, where was it? How do you know if something is unsustainable or just hard in the moment? That's what I said. I think you just have to do it. Just do it for 3 weeks and see what happens. If you can't do it for 3 weeks and you really truly believe that you have been making real changes every week to try to make it work, then you can abandon it. And you adjust and switch the goal to something else. I think if you've been beating your head against something and it's been, 2-3 months and you just absolutely hate it, I think it might be time to pivot. Not quit, right? I'd rather you keep doing something you hate that's working than quit to do something that is harmful, right? Like, don't quit and go back to what you were doing before. You can't do that. But if you're doing something you hate, you are going to need to find something different to do. Like in my case, when I started tracking calories, I saw, hey, this works. I also saw, hey, I don't like tracking calories. Like, I don't like pulling out my phone and writing it down all the time. There's just this extra steps that I don't want to take. It kind of makes eating not as fun. Well, I was like, well, but I can weigh the food. Like, if I weigh 6 ounces of rice, 6 ounces of rice is always 6 ounces of rice. It's always the same amount of calories because it's 6 ounces of rice. So it's like, okay, well, my bread, I could weigh my bread, or it's by the slice. My, meat, my pasta, my pizza, I could do it by the slice. Like, I realized I could just control my portions and have standard portions and just reduce the size of portions and pair it with just listening to my hunger. I was like, well, this is way easier. Way easier. Would diligently tracking my calories work better? I mean, if I stuck to it, sure, but I wouldn't stick to it. So no, it doesn't work better. What works better is what I'll actually do. Remember, at the end of the day, the plan you'll actually do is the best plan. Now, you should balance that with, would you do it for 10 years? So it's, what is the thing you're willing to do for 10 years that you actually will do for 10 years? It can't be something you could do, but you're unwilling to do it, or you're not able to. It's like, yeah, I'm willing to go to the gym for 10 years. Yeah, but the nearest gym's 45 minutes away from you. Are you really willing to? Well, not right now. I'd have to live closer. It's like, well, then you're not willing to do it right now. Don't say you are. You're not. If you are willing to do it, then go do it. And this is a big thing I had to realize with myself is I had to be okay with admitting that I was just unwilling to do something. I just didn't want to. But what I used to do in the past is when I didn't want to do the thing that I thought would work, I would then just do nothing. Saying I didn't want to do it released me of doing anything, and all I had to do was nothing. Because I tried. It was too hard. Keto, it was too difficult for me. I tried. It's not my fault. I had to go back to what I was doing because keto was too hard. It's like, wait, but why didn't you pivot to something else? Pivot, not quit, pivot. And that's what I started doing on the final weight loss journey. There was no quitting. There was only pivoting. If something wasn't working, it was time to pivot, not quit. Never quit. Never quit. Just pivot. Great question. Great question, Spencer. This is the Becoming Thin podcast. We'll be back in a moment with our next question. Welcome back to the Becoming Thin podcast. I am your host, Chris Terrell, and I've been enjoying this new format. Many of you have been leaving comments or sending me messages on Facebook, letting me know what you've thought about it. I appreciate it. Not everybody is a fan, but I've learned you can only please some of the people some of the time. And at the end of the day, you got to do what's right for you. And I enjoy this. This is fun. And I enjoy the bumper moments because it allows me to abruptly change topics in a way that's a little less jarring, still jarring, but also can kind of bake in some different segments. So I'm thinking about bringing in some guest speakers. I'm thinking about doing some interviews in different sections. I'll do more monologues, as well as I'll do some instructional things, a lot of Q&A. I even am currently almost finished setting up with a tech setup where I could do live phone calls into the podcast because I would love to be able to take a phone call live on the podcast. You call in, take your question, radio style. I think that could be really fun. And so working on some neat things, and this new format structure is going to enable me to be able to do that. It does make the podcast have a substantial amount more effort to go into making it, but A, it's fun for me, it's time to level up, and B, I think it'll make a better show for you. If you appreciate the effort, one of the best ways you could show your appreciation is by rating and reviewing and leaving a comment on the podcast. And if you have an episode that you particularly enjoy, consider sharing it with somebody. Our next question post comes from Josh, again in the Becoming Thin Facebook group. Josh says, I'm only 53 pounds down and I'm getting a lot of attention. Like, I'm charismatic. Just started a new job and everyone talks to me. I'm not used to it. There's this girl I talk to and there's looks we get. I'm not used to any of that attention, LOL. I was so used to being ignored or passed over. I'm still 373. And dude, like at 200 pounds, I'm going to be invincible. Well, here's the thing. First, we cannot undersell the role of confidence inwardly. Self-confidence, self-esteem looks good on everybody. And the way your essence is on the inside will impact how people look at and view you. It does make a difference, but as well as transformation, because when you're beginning to lose weight, people are recognizing the effort. Everybody knows it takes work. Weight loss, big weight loss often requires effort. It often requires diligence. Sure, sometimes it doesn't, but usually it requires that stuff. And people recognize it. People in society, we like to recognize greatness. And when a person is making a change, we recognize it. But I remembered this on mine too. I would lose weight and you started getting all this new attention. And one of the things I've realized as I've talked with lots of people on their weight loss journeys about this phase that people go through, which is like, hey, I'm noticing people are treating me better. And I'm kind of like having all sorts of feelings about it. Totally normal. It's a bit of a journey to process it and to arrive at the place of acceptance. There's different experiences that people have depending on how they felt about the isolation. For some people, the isolation they felt was actually the desired outcome. That was actually the desired effect of what they were going for. And so the being seen and acknowledged by others wasn't a benefit that the person was seeking, because sometimes the person was wanting the isolation for a myriad of reasons. Other times, though, the person didn't want the isolation, but they were indeed ignored, passed over, and looked past because of their weight, and you feel it. But when you also in your own mind, you're like, well, I'm not enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy of this. I wish people would look nice to me. If only I was something different, then they would look at me. Like if a person's thinking that stuff, trust me, people can pick up on that. Like they don't know how they can pick up on it. They may not be able to put their finger on it, but they pick up on it and they react to it. And so, and even if they don't, you probably perceive everything not as it is. And so you react to it in a way that doesn't help. So these are two different experiences, right? If the person was actually secretly yearning and longing to be seen, becoming seen is going to be seen as awesome, as a relief. To others that didn't want to be seen, this is going to be like scary. They don't want it. But here's the thing. Both people need to do the same thing, which is accept it, that you are going to be treated differently when you're thin. Like you just are. And your feelings about it don't matter. Like liking it, not liking it, it doesn't matter. You're going to be treated different. And this is the thing I had to wrap my head around as I was working through it. Because when it first started happening, I went through a bitterness phase. And I've seen many people go through this bitterness phase where they're just sort of, I'm like, I was worth knowing and talking to before. I mean, like, why me losing weight is making just random strangers in the world be nice to me and talk to me where I was normally invisible. And it frustrated me, made me mad. But it also confused me because I also liked it. I was one of those that wanted to be seen. I didn't want to be invisible. Look at what I do for a living. Clearly, I got a little flair for showmanship within me. I clearly like being in front of the camera. I enjoy it. I like the stage. I like performing. It's fun. And it's like I was invisible. I'd go try out for plays and I knew I might have the singing chops, but I'd get passed over because I was too big. I didn't look the part. And that was a bummer. I remember trying out for a play and they're going to have the person for the part I wanted has to be shirtless at parts in it. And I know I got passed up because of what it looked like. That's why I didn't get it. I mean, somebody else, they looked the part. When I saw who got it, I was like, yeah. I mean, it does look the part compared to me. And they sing good. But I started to just slowly allow myself to like it. I had to let go of the bitterness. I had to let go of the resentments. I had to forgive all these people that treated me differently because I was big and they never asked for forgiveness. Because a big part of my emotional healing journey was letting go of resentments. That was a big part of my journey. I had to find all the people that I was resentful towards and just systematically, one by one, release my own grudges against them into the ether to just vanish into nothing. And they may, a lot of times, never know. But it was because I was lightening the burden in my own heart for me. It had nothing, If I could tell him I forgave him, I did, but I wasn't able to tell everybody. And so that included, though, letting everybody in my past that treated me differently because I was big, let them off the hook. And when I let them off the hook, I didn't feel resentful towards them anymore. And when I didn't feel resentful towards them anymore, it freed me up to actually like being treated differently because I was small. And then I started realizing it wasn't just because of that. It might have also had to do with the fact I spent 2 years on my weight loss journey studying charisma. I mean, I made it a bit of an obsession for 2 years because in my head, I'm like, well, no, you're going to be successful and you're going to go get in the spotlight and people are going to treat you better. Like, it's funny. And in the beginning, I actually was looking for this. But then when it happened, I was mad. I was mad because it reminded me, oh shit, my fears were actually true, that I was being passed up and looked past and passed over because I was big. I didn't like having that confirmed, but I did indeed have the pleasure of getting it confirmed. So, anyway, great question. Thanks. Glad we got to talk about that. This is the Becoming Thin podcast, and we'll be back in a moment. Welcome back to the Becoming Thin podcast. I'm your host, Chris Terrell, where we are taking questions from people in the Becoming Thin Facebook group, which you can find by searching for Becoming Thin on Facebook. And if you are wanting to learn a little bit more about your hunger and you want to get a better sense of it and what's going on with it, I've created a free guide to studying your hunger. You can get that free guide by going to becomingthin.com. You're going to find a link right there at the top to download the guide. You tap it, put your email in, and I'll email it right over to you. I am not one of those people who's going to bombard you with a whole bunch of emails. So trust me, you're going to do it and you're going to get hardly any emails from me. So this is not one of those things where I'm like, yes, let me email you every day and ruin your email account. I hate that shit. So no, just put it on there. I'll send you the guide. And then I'm going to leave you alone. And but our next question comes from Anonymous. So this I think it's valuable in the Facebook group to allow anonymous posts because sometimes a person needs to get something off their chest, and anonymity can sometimes allow them to ask a question. But this one says, I'm in my 50s and I have been overweight for the past 20 years. I need to lose 80 pounds to be at a healthy BMI. Every day I wake up telling myself I'm going to slowly change my habits. By lunchtime, I'm at the drive-thru, though. But then I spend the rest of the day ruminating about what I'll do the next day. Seco, intuitive eating, get gastric sleeve, GLP-1. The next day, the cycle repeats. I'm too old not to believe in myself. But how did those of you who have been successful get over that hump? I'm smart. I majored in exercise science and took college-level nutrition classes. I know everything I need to do, but I just never do it. Which makes me feel like I just need to get surgery so that I don't have the option to eat crappy foods. But then I also know that 2 years still on the line, I could be right back where I am right now, unless I change my habits for good. I've read all the habit books. I'm at a loss and frustrated. Well, Anonymous, my friend, you have discovered something that holds many people back from getting what it is they want. You know, I have worked with a lot of salespeople over the years of my life. And you know what I've noticed about the absolute best salespeople I've known? They're never the smartest. They're never the most knowledgeable. Every salesperson I know, the top salesperson I know, every single one of them, somebody that was not as good a salesperson as them on the same team was smarter and knew more. And yet the top salesperson would usually outperform them. In fact, I have met a lot of people that are incredibly good at a thing, and then when you get to talk to them about it, you realize they ain't that smart, and they don't know that much. This is not exclusive to this. I'm just saying there's a lot of people that are like that. And I once at my, scratch my head, I'm like, well, why are you successful and I'm not? Well, it's not because I was smart. It's not because they're smart. It's not because I was quick-witted or slow-witted or dim-witted or whatever. It was these salespeople, I learned, they learned how to close the knowing-doing gap. You see, many of us, we get all caught up with knowing, with learning things. And it's not our fault. I mean, we were taught this way as a kid. You know, look at how our public schooling is set up. Everything is designed to get you to know things. You have to learn a material so you can know things to pass a test. It's not knowing something is not the same as thinking, by the way. And knowing something is definitely not the same as doing. And many of us aren't taught how to do. We're taught how to know. We got to, we report card syndrome, right? Everything's about getting the report card. You got to chase that. Then it's the paycheck syndrome. Like everything's about getting this paycheck, right? You got to know something to get something. You know something to get something. And there's a lot of us, we're really good at knowing things. And we get disappointed and discouraged when we don't get things. But it's because we're not doing things that lead to the getting. I agree. Based off everything I'm reading here, I don't think getting the gastric sleeve or going on a GLP-1 is going to help you at all. The GLP-1 will probably work, but you're probably somebody that is going to be signed up for a lifetime subscription of GLP-1 meds. Is that what you want? I mean, if you do, then maybe that's the answer. However, what if you learn to close the knowing-doing gap? What if you learned that imperfect action taking half the time is still better than perfect no action taken all the time? That perhaps 50% of something is better than 100% of nothing? What if the reason why you're not doing well, it's obvious, everything in your comment is here, it's dripping, it's oozing with perfectionism. Everything about this is screaming you're trying to be perfect. And then the moment you're not perfect, you throw it all out so that you can start again tomorrow and have a perfect run. What if you just said, you know what? My expectation is that I will not have a single perfect day for the first 14 days. Every single day will have noticeable amounts of things that were not right. But every single day will have noticeable amount of things that are helpful. And every single day will have 1% more than the day before. What if you did that? What if you did that? What if instead of taking 10 steps forward, 8 steps back, you just took 1 step forward? Well, that's not very far, Chris. Yeah, but tomorrow you take another step forward. Well, that's still not very far. But then, but tomorrow you take another step forward. Yeah, that's only 3 steps, Chris, in 3 days. I know, but you took 10 steps forward, 8 steps back. So you actually went 18 steps. That was just on your first day. Don't you think you're going to be a little tired? Right? Which sounds more sustainable? 18 steps, metaphorically speaking, a day, or 1 step, metaphorically speaking, a day? Which sounds easier? Which sounds more sustainable? What if the reason why you're trying to get there is you're not actually going slow? You're not going slow. You're trying to go from 0 to perfect overnight. That's not slow. That's fast. That's fast. I get you that you're saying you know the habit books, but you don't. If the behavior doesn't change, you don't know it. Part of this is you must stop saying you know something if the behavior hasn't shifted. You just understand something. Understanding and knowing aren't the same thing. They're not the same thing. I can understand a coder when they're talking to me. I can loosely follow what they're saying. Within reason. But I couldn't repeat any of it back. I don't know it. You couldn't sit me down in front of a machine and be like, show me where there's an error in the code. I'd be unlikely to be able to do that. But if you said, let me show you this error, let me explain to you why this error is doing what it's doing, I'd be like, okay, I can follow. Like I get the gist of it. So you might be thinking like, well, I could explain all the steps of habits and habit creation, of intentional habit creation. I could talk about setting the scene, habit stacking, having cues, making it attractive, adding and removing friction. We could talk about all these mechanics of habit creation and the self-identity work that goes with it and systems over goals. And you might be like, no, I read Atomic Habits. I know all this stuff. It's like, no, you don't know it. You understand it. Can you give me an hour-long dissertation on how to create habits? If you can't, you don't know it. And I'm telling you, if you know how to create habits on command, you should be able to talk about it for an hour. I'm talking to you right now off the cuff. I have no notes in front of me. I just know this stuff. Why? Because I've been living it for 6 years. I'm just talking about what I do every day. I don't need to take notes to describe how I go to work every day. I just know how I go to work every day. I just know it. It's in my head. I can just tell you. And so for you, I think you've got to stop focusing so much on what you know and focus more on what you do. because there's something you clearly don't know that's holding you back. It's one thing. One major thing is holding you back that you have not learned how to do yet. You haven't learned how to get yourself to do what you say you're going to do when you commit yourself in the future. Like, you should be able to say, tomorrow I'm going to take 5,000 steps. And you should be able to then go take 5,000 steps tomorrow. And then when you get to the end of that day, you should be able to say, tomorrow I'm going to take 6,000 steps. And then you should be able to do that. If you can't do it, then you don't know how to do it. You don't know how to get yourself to do what you say you're going to do. If you could figure that out, literally all these other problems go away. All you need to do is learn this one thing: how to get yourself to do what you say you're going to do. If you can do that, you will not have to worry about your weight. It still might take a while. You'll probably still have setbacks while you're learning how to do it. But that's what the weight loss journey can teach you how to do. Because you have to have a practice ground. Like, you have to have a training ground to learn how to get yourself to do what you say you're going to do. That means you need to be regularly asking yourself to do something you don't really want to do. Because if you ask yourself to do something you already want to do, there's no growth there. There's no learning there. You already wanted to do it. You were already, it was psychologically easy. No, we must find a place to practice this where there's psychological resistance, where there's a natural resistance to wanting to do it, because that will strengthen your ability to get yourself to do what you say you're going to do. We need a project. Well, a weight loss journey is a perfect project for this, because it's just riddled with all sorts of little tasks that you need to do every single day, and all these tasks that you need to not do every single day, and you need to do them forever. Well, this is great. Just pick 2 or 3 and start practicing. And then once you get 2 or 3 of them, grab a couple more. And then when you got a couple more, add a couple more. You see, don't try to diet. Don't try to learn the right way to eat. Don't try to count your calories. Try to learn the habits of thin people, right? Collect and adopt the habits of thin people and destroy the habits of fat people. So again, you not only do you need to learn how to intentionally how to get yourself to do what you say you're going to do, you have to learn how to not do what you say you won't do. You have to learn how to stop yourself from doing something. And again, if you were going to stop something that you already didn't want to do, there's no growth there. If you already didn't want to do it, you're like, I got to really give up this bungee jumping, I went bungee jumping yesterday and it was terrifying, and now I hated it. Now I'm hooked, and I feel like if I don't quit, I'm just going to keep bungee jumping every day. I got to give this up. Like, what? No, you didn't want to do it. You didn't like it. You already weren't going to go. No, it has to be like, I'm going to stop demolishing 2 bowls of ice cream at the end of every day. Like, I actually want to do it. I don't want to not do it. I want to do it. Like, really, really want to do it. That's what you got to practice on. You got to practice on stuff like that. You might have to practice on some smaller, easier ones. You might have to take it from 2 bowls of ice cream down to just 1 versus 2 bowls of ice cream to none. Like, you might have to incrementally stair-step your way to learning how to do this stuff with harder and harder things. That's normal. That's normal. But so my heart goes out to you in the frustration, but I'm just and I know I'm pushing on it I'm cutting straight through to the noise and just hitting you with the cold hard truth here, which is you got to start working on getting yourself to do what you say you're going to do. That's it. You get that one skill, and you can practice on anything. It doesn't have to be weight loss. It can be anything. Anything. Your entire life's going to get better. Everything about your life's going to get better. If you can go to bed tonight and say you're going to do something tomorrow, and then you actually do it, your life's going to be amazing. Now, one caveat with that is part of being able to do that is learning how to be stingy with your commitments. Look, I've gotten pretty good at doing what I say I'm going to do. But part of that is, I'm not perfect at it. I still struggle with it, but I'm so much better than I was. But the big thing that's helped me is I am much more stingy with my commitments, much to the dismay of people in my life. I just don't like committing to things unless I'm sure I can do it. I mean, and again, the people in my family sometimes don't like it. Like, can we do this? I'm like, maybe. They're like, no, come on, let's commit. I'm like, I am not willing to commit because I cannot be sure I can do it. But if I say I'm going to do it, then I truly mean it. Like, I truly mean we're going to do it. Like, I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure it happens. And so that meant I had to stop overcommitting. For me to do what I say I'm going to do, I had to become good at saying no to people. And also myself had to be good at saying no to myself. But I had to become good at saying no so that I was leaving enough time to do what I say I was going to do. The reality was I struggled with exercise in the beginning because I wasn't saying no to enough things to create time to exercise. It's real easy to keep yourself so busy by saying yes to everybody in your life so that you don't have any time to take care of you. But Life's just going to take. You're the one that has to say no and put up the boundary and say, nope, no one's taking any more from me. This is my peace. This is my life. You're the one that has to do that. So, thanks for asking that, Anonymous. We'll be back in a moment to wrap up this week's episode of the podcast. See you in a bit. Welcome back to the Becoming Thin podcast. I'm your host, Chris Terrell. You know, weight loss is actually easy, but the changing part is hard, isn't it? Changing how we think, changing our habits, changing our routines, changing the dynamics of the people we hang out with, going inside and changing a belief about yourself. It's scary to act as if you're enough. It's scary, after decades of failing with your weight, to choose to believe that this is the time. This is the one, because I'm not going to quit. It doesn't matter how long it takes. It could take 5 damn years, don't care, because I'm not quitting. It's scary to do that. But you know what that means when you choose to do it anyway? It means you're choosing to live in your courage. You're choosing to believe that you're capable of doing something that you've never believed you could do. And trust me, you're listening when you do that. When you choose to believe you could do something that you're not sure you can, and then you just choose to believe that it is possible to be successful, and you start doing all the little stuff, and you start getting the results and the benefits and the progress, and you keep getting back up after you fail, and you see yourself winning, you start believing in yourself a little more. Just a little bit more, and then you just keep going. You start feeling pretty good about yourself. It only makes you want to keep going even more. And when you're okay with it taking as long as it takes, because you're loving life and you're loving you and you're acting as if you're enough now, the journey transforms and becomes something amazing. Be grateful for this journey that you're on. It's going to teach you about you. You're going to learn everything there is to know about you. Things you don't know about you that are going to be your most prized discoveries you're going to learn on this journey. I'll see you next week on the Becoming Thin podcast. Now go kick ass.